Toca de Jordan!
Tocaço sensacional do LeBron James!
Well, first, before starting our interview, I would like to introduce our special guest, the legend Spencer Haywood. Thank you so much, Spencer, to come here to Camisa 23 to talk with our Brazilian fans. It's a big honor to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, now that you have been introduced to our fans, I would like to start our interview talking a little more about your career, okay? You started your journey as a professional player in the ABA, a league that rivaled with the NBA in the 60s and 70s. What was it like to start your career, your professional career, at such a young age? Because you didn't seem to notice the difference between the college level and the professional level, as you are MVP, you were Rookie of the Year, scoring champion in your first season.
Yeah, well, the difference was that we didn't have young players coming into either league, the ABA nor the NBA. I broke the rule and was a test case for the ABA because the ABA was competing against the NBA. Thus, we brought the red, white, and blue ball. So, after going to the '68 Olympics in Mexico City, where I won the MVP at the age of 19, uh, the ABA, which was shutting its doors, came after me, hoping that if they could get one young player that could expose the idea that a young player could play in professional basketball, then we would have an opportunity to get all of the young players. Thus, you were able to get Julius Erving, George Gervin, George McGinnis, all of the young players after me. But what happened was, at our press conference, the ABA was being bombarded by the NBA and the NC2A with breaking this 4-year rule. And what I mean by this 4-year rule is if you are in high school and you finish your high school at probably 17 or 18, the NBA and the ABA required you to wait 4 more years after your high school class had graduated, which I thought was just absurd. And the only reason they wanted it like that is because they had an opportunity to make the universities rich
Yes.
and the players get nothing. That's why I have now in America, and I guess across the world, that you can sell your likeliness as a player in college. But what happened with me, they came in and said, why can't we, if you can get 7 points and 5 rebounds, the gambit would work. So I got 30 points and 19.5 rebounds, and I was the Rookie of the Year, MVP of the league, MVP of the All-Star game, and leading scorer, leading rebounder in the league. That's how I got started. Pretty
And
good start. Pretty good start, if I may say
yes,
so myself.
in my opinion, it's like top 3 starts ever in professional basketball. Like you won
It
everything you
is the
can.
number one start.
Yes, you won everything you
Yeah.
could. And wow, that was amazing. And how was that change so quick? Like you, as you said, there were few young players, right? So you played a lot
No, it
against.
was only one. It was just me.
Yes,
I was the
so
only young player and the only young player that played at that time in professional sport. I was it.
how was to get to a league where everyone was a veteran? You didn't feel any difficulty?
No, I didn't feel any difficulties, but there was some difficulties because since I was 20 years old, I couldn't get into any bars. I couldn't go with my team to drinking holes and all of that. So I just, stayed at the hotel, sit in the car if we were on our way from the game or on the bus. I just sit on the bus and read, you know. I read a book and just say, hey, as soon as they come out, I'll be able to get home, get to the hotel and get some rest.
Uh,
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's no different than, I would imagine like your great soccer players or your
Yes,
great football players, which Ronaldo.
yes. I'm a huge fan of
Yeah, yeah. I
soccer.
mean, he started young. A lot of players start young, so they can't participate in the after hours.
The fun hours.
Yeah,
Uh,
the fun hours. We have to sit back and say, no, my turn will come in a year or so or 2 years. So it's
yes.
fun. Yeah.
Well, you talked about your impact you had, like breaking this rule, as we can say. So, do you think that?
Well, the rule wasn't broken now in the NBA. It was broken in the ABA
Yes,
because the ABA was trying to take away the draft picks from the NBA. Now, the following year is when I jumped to the NBA. And when I jumped to the NBA from the ABA, and that's when the NBA sued me saying that I was breaking and violating the rule. And so what happened was I sued them for the rights to play. And so both lawsuits were colliding. And so with the collision of the lawsuit, I would play 10 games and they would give me an injunction, get an injunction against me not to play. And when they would get an injunction, now you're thinking real battle here because this was a bedrock principle in American sports. Um, so when they would say, Spencer Haywood is an illegal player on the floor and he must be escorted off the floor, blah 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 blah. So I had to go and be escorted off the floor, all of these things, and it went on and on for 1 year. And at the end of that year, I had worked my way all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And at the Supreme Court, they decided that I should be able to play under the Sherman Antitrust Act, under old General Sherman, uh, because you can't stop a person from making a living in America at a
yes,
young age. Anyway, you can't stop him. But this was one of those things where the universities in America is making billions of dollars off of players, and the players can't get, their family are starving. So that's so unfair, but that's sort of like the old slavery system that we have had here in
yeah.
America.
So, talking about college and NCAA, what's your opinion about the one and done rule that uh, we have nowadays? Like currently we have players taking other paths. Like they go to the G League, they go overseas. There are some like Anthony Simons that trained a whole year after high school just to get drafted after the whole year. Like, what's your opinion about this rule?
This ruling, my Supreme Court ruling, it helped players come in early, but it also helped the owners. The owners were, each team was worth 300 million or more, and so they had all of these players coming in from college or early, or some was not out of high school yet, but early, and so uh, it increased in terms of growth, in terms of the salaries, and also with the growth of the league. We had to expand because we had a lot of players leaving college early, a lot of players coming from Europe earlier, and coming from South America earlier. So you had to expand. You expanded from 14 teams to 30 teams. And each team now is hovering around $2 billion to $3 billion. Some like Golden State is up at 4. But that is all on the back of this one case, my case, the Spencer Haywood rule, which is Haywood versus the NBA. Changed it forever, yeah. But it's so sad that, in America, you don't celebrate game changers like Jackie Robinson. Um, you talk about Kurt Flood. All of us was like ostracized for years, and I'm still being, because you don't want no nobody thinking that there was some revolutionary person, which I wasn't a revolutionary person, but they just tend to want to suppress it.